All right, welcome everybody to the Wednesday, November 19th, 2025 Community Preservation Committee, being held here at the Norwood Town Hall in the FinCom Room 24. We have John Hall joining remotely and waiting on Amanda. And so if anybody's recording, please let us know now. Okay, no, take that as no. All right, so we will take a roll call because we're in a hybrid environment and we've got somebody online.
What do you need?
So we'll go around the room. Joe Sheehan.
Here.
Cheryl Doyle.
Here.
Debbie Homewood.
Here.
John Hall.
Here.
Really?
Check here.
Julie Barbisa.
Here.
And Catherine Walsh Chair here. Okay, great. First we'll take the minutes, the approval of the meeting minutes from September 17th. Kristen sent those out today. Everybody had a chance to review them.
Yep. Make a motion.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Joe. All right, we'll go around and vote on that. Joe Sheehan.
Aye.
Cheryl Doyle.
Aye.
Debbie Homewood.
Yes.
John Hall.
Aye.
Joe Sheehan.
Really? Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Joe
Yeah, I
Gray,
got one.
Joe,
You got 'em all
sorry.
right.
Julie Barbie Isa.
Aye.
And Catherine Walsh Chair. Aye. All right. And so next we are going to go to the meeting schedule. Debbie has a hard stop at 6:30. So we did want to get in the meeting schedule, particularly
And I appreciate your.
willingness to accommodate your book.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm like, why is it every
It's
once a
very-
month?
I know, it's very important. And so, Kristen, do you want to go over the schedule with us? I think the most important part for us to discuss is the public hearings.
Yes, so there are 12 up. In the draft meeting schedule, I basically had two public hearing dates in January, but with 12 applications, it seems kind of necessary to have a third public hearing. So contemplating either doing a public hearing on December 17th, which seems kind of far away, but it would have to be advertised by next Monday. So, and I would need to get an applicant or a few applicants to
present.
on that date, which I think will be possible. It may be, someone like the general managers who are coming back with kind of repeat. They're not going to have to do a crazy amount of prep work on a presentation. So the 17th would be an option, and the other option would be to do February 4th, I believe it is, and to do a public hearing, but then
February?
February.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, got it.
But you would,
Yeah.
in that case, it would probably be public hearings followed by voting the projects.
It's not the best.
It's not ideal, but it's.
Could we do
possible.
December 17th?
If folks are available,
I am.
I am.
Yeah.
I think we could probably get the four that we took the shared Sarah Dixon's.
the town manager ones, only because
Yeah.
the
The two town manager ones.
there's four
Four
for
of them, yeah.
four general manager ones.
So do those ones?
Yeah, those,
Okay.
I mean, that way they don't have to come to one meeting.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that would be I would try that as a first option, and I might have to resort to having like Mark and Sam come in, or, if we can get at least two of them off the books, we could have reasonable hearings for the,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the January ones. But if folks are available on the 17th, I'll go ahead and get something
think we
booked
should.
for,
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
Great.
Great.
And
And then the rest of the year, we're just trying to put, a calendar out there. Some of them might be canceled, or we may need to add.
And do we have a hard date on, with FinCom on the February
26th,
26th?
yep.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect, great, okay.
So
So everybody want to get any feedback on that, or do people just want to put it in their calendars right now? You guys okay with the schedule?
I'm okay with the schedule.
Okay, great.
Could you give all the dates? I heard the proposed date in December, and that one's fine for me, but I didn't hear what the January dates were, probably because I don't have what you've got in front of you for documents.
Yeah, that was on the QNAP. So in terms of public hearings, we're talking about the first one being Wednesday, December 17th, Wednesday, January 14th for the second, and Wednesday, January 22nd for, 21st for the third public hearing. And then there's a whole bunch of other dates, John, probably like 10 or 12 for prep meetings and FinCom meetings. Do you want us to read all of those?
Or do you want me to email you
Yeah.
the document? I can do that
I-
right now.
I would like that, but I've got my calendar right here and it doesn't show any problems. It shows a board member, well, no, it doesn't show any problems. Leave it at that, on the 14th,
great.
21st, or the 17th.
Okay, great. All right. And let the record show that Amanda has joined us. Hi, Amanda. We
Hello.
voted on the minutes, and then we're just going over the dates.
Great.
Okay, good. All right, so we'll move forward with these dates. And if anybody has any problems, send Kristen an email. And we'll try and accommodate. Okay, next up is, we thought it would be good to do a brief overview of the financials right now, so that we can talk about how much is in the bank, what we expect for the FY 27. Oh my God, FY 27 expected revenue, just to inform us as we begin to look at all of the applications. So Kristen gave us all a handout. Amanda and John, I think that should have been emailed to you separately.
That's the last, yeah.
Yes,
within
it looks
the
like it
past
came
few
through.
hours. Oh, minutes, okay, minutes, hours, minutes, time, seconds.
Last hour.
So if you guys could pull those up, it might be helpful. So Kristen, do you want to go over that, or Joe, do you want to go over that? Who wants to take that?
Kristen, why don't you did all the work, so. go for it.
So the summary that was sent around is just the kind of where things stand in FY 26. So you know, after in May, when the money was appropriated to each of the reserve accounts and then the projects were subtracted from it, we ended up with a balance in the Open Space and Recreation Fund reserve of just over 29,000, in the historic reserve of just over 111,000, and in the community housing of just over $57,000. And then in the undesignated fund reserve, there's a balance of $2.3 million. That $2.3 million does not include the closeouts of FY 25. So if you recall, when they close out the fiscal year, which they did, you know, over the summer, August into September, they kind of round up a whole bunch of revenue streams that aren't reflected in the $2.3 million. So things like in interest earnings. I just checked that today, and the interest on earned interest over FY 25 was over $200,000. It's about $215,000. So that would get added to this $2.3 million figure. There's money from the administrative budget, unspent funds, that also goes into the undesignated reserve. That was about between $8,000 and $9,000. And then there are some other things that get rolled up into that. Yeah. So the typically the actual revenue exceeds estimated revenue, so that money also gets pulled in. So the balance going into the FY 27 before we appropriate the estimated revenues we're probably in excess of $2.5 million in the undesignated reserve. So probably close to 2.7, 2.8 overall for available funds. The estimated revenues for FY 27 are likely to exceed $1 million again this year. It was just over $1 million last year. 1,050,000, I think, was the revenue expectations. Most of that comes from the surcharge. We were 909 on the surcharge last year with an estimated state match of 114. The state match, actually, we got the state match. I don't know if you all saw that from the coalition. Again, we were looking at $141,000 estimated from the state. We got $155,000 in FY 26 from the state. So we had we worked with basically 16% match, and it was closer to 17%, 16.9%. We hopefully will get guidance from them, again, but even, backing off to that very conservative approach of 10% that we use when we don't have a figure from DOR, it would exceed $1 million. So you'd be looking at about $3.8 million of available funds to appropriate for projects in FY '27. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Okay. So,
And we will, both Kristen and I talked to Jeff O'Neill, the finance director last week. He was trying to get past town meeting, but within the next 2 weeks, we'll be in firm up some of these numbers.
so I think the takeaway is we're around 3.7 to begin to think about how we want to allocate for these rounds of applications coming in. So, okay. Any questions on that? Okay, great. And next up on our agenda is the actual applications. So, I had a conversation earlier with, Kristen on, how to approach the applications. And so, as you recall, when we get the final applications, it's not like we're going through the applications today and voting on yes or no. And so it's really about, do we need additional information? Can we provide that information before the public hearings, and sort of a strategy about how we approach reviewing these. So we suggested an approach that I'd like to share with you guys, and let me know what you think. And so what we did is group them in 3 different categories. And the first category was, we're calling the town managers applications. So that is the scanning of the records, the assessment of the historical and records in the library, the Sarah Dixon's, the shared services agreement, and the conservation land transfer. And so the thought behind that is these are similar type of applications that we've received in the past. Our initial take is that these applications were pretty succinct, and that there wasn't a lot more work that needed to happen, and that we would advance those to, public hearing and hopefully get them on the agenda for the first one. The second category was the playground projects, and there are 6 of them. Is that more? It's more than that, because it's the Norwood, it's the city.
2 playgrounds, and then the dugouts.
Yeah.
And the, Father Max is a playground.
Yes, yeah.
So,
So it's Prescott, the bathrooms,
yep.
Father Max, the dugout,
5, yeah.
and Callahan. And so, so I guess I'll just put that out there. My initial take on it is
So the high school restrooms is not one of those, because that's
It
coming
is.
through.
I have it as one of those.
1, 2, 3,
5,
4.
5, yeah.
We should have.
Oh, 5, sorry.
4,
That's a
5.
double one. Okay, got it.
Okay, you got that? Yeah,
Yep.
so 5 of those. And so, my initial reaction is the applications are great. I think I applaud the applicants, for putting these in and identifying funding sources to be able to implement the infrastructure at these schools. And so I think we have a philosophical discussion to have about, is CPA going to be the funding agency for school parks? And so sort of where Kristen and I landed was, we think that before we even really take a look at this and prioritize them and talk about any more information we need, we should probably meet with the school committee, the superintendent, and maybe DPW, because they do so much maintenance of these, and chat with them about potentially prioritizing these projects, and maybe looking at funding 1 or 2 or 3, maybe looking at having them put it in a multi-year program where we sort of know what year 1, year 2, year 3 would be. We make a decision that we do not want to be in the business of funding school playgrounds. That's an option for us. Another potential option is, it seems like a number of these have some self-funding pieces from the PTAs and other agencies, and then there's the CPC funding, and there's some in-kind, DPW, funding that, we could potentially go after, but, maybe as CPA, we want the schools to have some skin in this game. And so I'd like for us to talk conceptually about where we might be with regard to this, and sort of absolutely interested in your guys' initial reactions when you reviewed all of these. So I feel like maybe we can have some conversations about how we, or what are the items that we bring forward to school committee, superintendent, town manager, whomever. So I'll open it up. And start with Joe, then go to Cheryl, and then John.
I just have one question that I might solve. I think it's more historical. When it comes to playgrounds, and has the school department been hands-off? And it's an initiative by the PTAs, PTOs, or it's not quite clear.
I think those are questions we should ask, but we have funded some school projects. We're gonna go to Cheryl, then John, then Joe Greeley.
We have funded school projects?
I think we have. didn't we?
No,
No? Okay, all right, great. Thank
The
you for
vault?
correcting me. I thought it was the vault.
No,
too.
the
That was
lower
the
half
ramp.
is
That was the
rec.
lower, yeah.
Yeah.
that doesn't belong to the Gulch, it's the.
It's
That's
kind of
what I
like how
thought.
the dugouts are not technically
The
Cleveland,
schools.
that's a recreation,
Right.
like, I think there's a fun, I don't,
Yeah.
I'll sit down,
No,
it's my turn.
I was gonna ask, can we pull the Father Max and the dugout one out, because technically that's the rec department and not the schools.
Sure.
It belongs, and I know the rec department has had on their list to do poured rubbers on, poured rubber.
Yeah.
Moving right along.
Yeah,
The longer you laugh, the worse it gets.
they've had it on their agenda to do every playground in their department to be poured and get rid of all the chips.
So I'm sorry, you wanted to pull out the.
Father Max
And
and
Cleveland.
the Cleveland, because that's technically,
Yeah, why the?
it's
Correct.
owned by the school department, right?
no, technically rec department.
It's
They operate
the controlling authority is the school, but the.
Father Max?
No.
No.
Yeah,
the
Oh,
Cleveland-
within
They-
area or
Father
Callahan?
Max's, yeah.
Father Max is definitely the select board.
Oh, they are, okay, then
Cleveland is-
leave it. Can we just pull Father Max then?
Yeah, and
There were two items for the dugouts, right? One is the ball field next to Cleveland. Is that considered?
There's two, they're both on school property. There's two different ball fields, but they're both school property, but they're scheduled by the rec department. So there's a kind of an
So
overlap.
should they be pulled and put in with the?
That's what
rest of
Cheryl's-
them? Okay. I just
Yeah,
wanted to make
yeah,
sure that
yeah.
those were sure on which ones, yeah.
and are you inclined to group that with the first set of projects, or should we discuss it with the historical ones, the Masonic, the Canon, and the Shattuck? If we have,
Is that all what Sean has in, or just those two projects?
yeah, well, he has the Cleveland School dugout, Sam and,
Sam and
Mark.
Mark, it's just the two, the Father Max and Cleveland are the only two coming out of DPW/recreation.
I feel like Cleveland is part of the school, right? Father Max is not, right?
Father
Okay,
Max
that's-
isn't,
Right.
that's town owned.
So I get.
I wasn't paying attention to property owner on the bottom.
Yeah.
So, okay, yeah, just pull the Father Mac one, and I don't
Which
know
is-
how.
This sort of reiterates why I think it's really important when we meet with school committee that we have DPW there.
Yeah,
Because I think it's important for us to understand, like, what is the relationship and who maintains these, who funds these, and, you know.
yeah, well, the Father Mac one, that's all town.
Okay.
That's all town. DPW helps, rec maintains that, but the other one, the dugout, because it is on school property, yeah, we'll throw it in with the playgrounds.
Okay, maybe we group it in with the town manager ones then, right?
What, Father
Max,
Max?
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I don't think there's a lot more to
That's
get at.
self-explanatory anyways. We already know what he's doing with it.
Great.
Because he's
Okay, no, no,
done
no, no,
several of
no,
them.
we gotta get to John Hall, and then we're going to Joe Greeley. John?
Yes, thanks. The question that occurred to me, and we may already have answered it, but just in case, a lot of these are near some line of eligibility. So they may be right on the line, they may be over it in one direction or the other, but have we consulted with our state experts who have been very helpful to us in deciding eligibility or ineligibility for things? I tell you what really has me concerned is the more it's a matter of doing some work on a building, then the less it seems to me it's defensible as improvement to open space. Anyway, I'd like to get their input, and I'd like to have a short description of their opinion with each of these projects so that we can remember what the input was. Now tell me what I'm missing.
Who is they?
The coalition.
Coalition.
Okay.
Are you feeling, I mean, you've done sort of an eligibility assessment, right? Based on what you know.
Yeah.
And so, but I thought that we made an initial determination that the concession stand for the high school is not eligible. Did
Correct.
you have any other concerns about any other projects that were submitted?
No, so the, John, are there ones in particular that you were concerned about? So for instance.
No,
the-
there aren't, Kristen. I just
Yeah.
thought it would be a good habit to get into. There always seems to be some kind of eligibility question that arises with projects in these sort of settings. And if we could get in the habit of getting a short phone call with our friends at the state level, we wouldn't have to spend as much time ourselves and be less than confident of the end result if we do this routinely for all the projects.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked, kind of in broad generalities with Stuart about some of the projects and nothing kind of, percolated to the tops and in terms of concerns about eligibility. Typically, you know, I would send something to him, an email and request in writing if there was, you know, a discrete concern that we were looking for him to answer. I mean, most of these on their face, they're, you know, for instance, all of the projects before you today, there are similar projects in the database that other towns have done and that have moved forward without any issues. I know Stuart has his particular view on some, on the way that some things should roll out, and it's not always how how those things so again, I'm happy to, if there's specific concerns, I'm happy to touch base with him again, but there weren't any things that rose to the to, you know, to a level of concern of him saying this would be patently ineligible for funding.
Okay, can I try to combine what you've just said with intent of what I was asking about? I'd like to have a matrix with each row as a project, and there's a column about eligibility under the law. And for something like this, it would be saying, assumed to be eligible by analogy to other projects, similar projects in other towns. That's the strength and the weakness of the evidence that we have. If we got something more direct and specific from the state coalition, then we'd put that in there.
Okay, all right, thanks, John. Nope, we're wheeling around.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Joe Greeley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do we want to talk about the Veterans Project now, or in light of what Kristen just said, or not? Do it later.
We'll wait on that one.
Okay, so we'll
Oh,
circle
the
back.
plaque?
So do we,
Yeah.
yeah. So to answer Joe's question, when we started out, historically, the town school playgrounds have always been funded by the PTOs. Right, historically, as far back as my kids were in the Oldham, right, which is, I don't want to tell you how many.
This is good context.
How many decades that was, but
Yeah.
the PTOs, the Rockstar PTOs have always done fundraisers, or they've solicited donations from people or groups or whatever. And it's always been successful, and even if they had to basically do it in phases, like I know at the Oldham, we started out.
Yep.
Right, there was, okay, let's take out the metal slides that burn people's butts in August, right, back in the day. And let's only put in 3 elements this year, and then come back 2 years later and put in 3 more elements, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not all implemented and installed at year 1, but there's a goal to have, in a lot of schools, and maybe all the schools, they have a younger kids playground area and older kids with different elements for each. So the town has never funded playgrounds, school playgrounds, as far back as I can remember. So that's number one. Number two, to answer John's question, maybe I do think we should utilize the coalition more often, just generally. So I think we're on the same page there, John. I don't think sometimes I wonder, and Kristen, you obviously have the most interaction with the coalition, and we may be getting our money's worth, quote unquote, with what you and they discussed. But from the standpoint of, even if it's just educational, like once a year, in my mind, during some down period that we're not up against this calendar schedule, we should try to figure out a way to help ourselves get up to speed on what other towns are doing, changes in the law, changes to, best practices, et cetera. I just think that's probably in our best interest. And it's a way to utilize the coalition and actually pay them, earn the money that we're paying them. So that's number one. Number two, in spite of all the above, John, I don't think it's a good practice that we have to go back to the coalition for every single project. I think that's our job, not their job. If I can just borrow that one, please, the matrix.
This one?
Yeah.
Debbie just happens to have the tool that we've already pretty much, some of us sleep with this document, but this is the verbs
TMI,
document.
Joe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
is our
that's how it
project
works.
allowable?
Way to go.
The verbs, so like that, we shouldn't even have to be able to spell the word coalition because we already have the tool. So to be able to fill that column, thank you, if it's anything that's like on the cusp, then it's certainly, not only would Kristen be the first line of defense or the first person to reach out, but it's important for all of us to know why something is or is not eligible, or even to dissect one project. Some of it might be and some of it might not be. But although I agree with your logic, John, I think it's overkill for us to have to do that for every single project. So just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Let me just add to what Joe said. My statement on doing a review at the state level for every project was my opening bid. The discussion that occurred while we were discussing my proposal made it clear that that's overkill, but what I replaced it with, each project, what the heck is going on? Each project should have a notation that says, this is what we used as a basis for saying this is eligible. And usually it'll be analogy with other projects or best advice from the administrative person, Kristen. Occasionally it'll be close enough to the line in the judgment of enough of this august body that we will want to have somebody else who we can target as having said we were okay. So I think, Joe, you and I have wound up at the same spot by different paths.
Okay, good, thanks.
Okay. Cheryl or Debbie?
Does the CPA have meetings like, how they have for the planning board show? They're always during the day, so I can't. They don't have little like breakout sessions or something where you go and learn something?
the coalition.
Yeah,
They have periodic, they've been online, training seminars. You attended
I've
one
done
last
them,
year, yeah.
yeah.
But no, they don't have, public meetings but, you should all be on their mailing list. I know they have an updated, contact list, so, they would make, they would send out an email when they're offering a new, training, but also all of their prior trainings are on the website, and I can send you the link directly to it, so I'd happily do that. Yeah, they're kind of like CPA 101,
Yeah,
CPA boot
just-
camp. I can send you those.
They're actually
those
helpful.
links.
yeah, just some ideas of what the other towns have done to get whatever, some ideas.
Yeah.
Cause I was talking to somebody and regarding Jamaica Plain, Roslindale, City of Boston CPA stuff. And the question was a huge, way over 60% of their projects are,
Housing.
no, publicly funded. They're not, I get that we're a small town and we have a manager in a town meeting and they would have to go to, Mayor Wu, but most of their CPA projects, and just Hyde Park and Jamaica Plain is what we were talking about, are, citizen sponsored. And that's, I think, what we're all trying to get a little more of, like, trails, they watch the money, the cemetery, they watch the money because it was citizen backed. And they did a lot of volunteer stuff and we got a lot of bang for our buck. So I think that's what community preservation looks like. We just have to get more bodies involved.
Okay, good. Cheryl, did you have?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I have done the classes and I know on some of it, like, I know it's brought up that other towns have done stuff. But like they said, even during the classes, you can't always go by that because sometimes towns do things under the radar.
Yeah, it's just an
That
idea.
doesn't-
I mean, I.
No,
think
no, it's a great idea
Information
because,
is not bad, just,
no, I was surprised how many towns do things that are not actually qualified and they did it under the radar because nobody's going around to town to town to town checking on all this, and it came up during those classes, and then all of a sudden people go, oops, maybe I shouldn't say that. Yeah.
So can I go back to the school projects, right? Sorry, playgrounds and schools, yeah, and that's interesting context that you added. Do you think it's worthwhile for one or two of the CPC members to meet with Mark and somebody, whether it's school committee or the superintendents, to discuss these projects and whether or not the prioritization or whether or not they're willing to have a little skin in the game or whatever to help us sort of, I don't know, are people
Right.
inclined to fund all of those projects? Or do you
No,
think,
no.
okay,
Yeah, I'm not.
Joe, and then Joe.
Wait, which one?
Joe
So,
G.
you just looking at the list here, but it is kind of a melange of sponsors because you've got one of the PTAs. So you'd have to, like, as opposed, the schools would have input to that, but the group requesting the work is the PTA, not the schools.
Yeah.
Even though it's on school property, so they're both involved. And then you've got the Prescott School, which is the school, obviously. And the outdoor restrooms, if you're gonna put them to the mix, that's the Alumni Association. So yes, to the point of, do we connect directly with the schools? Sure, but that's not the only constituent, if you will. I don't know, you wouldn't want to open up like a huge meeting, but like this is something that if we're having a dialogue directly with the schools, the PTAs are gonna be A, interested in, B, like part of the solution.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking to fill the room with people, but
Yeah, so I totally get what you're saying, but I just don't want to be the arbiter of like, what's the
Yeah.
prioritization?
I'm not-
So,
right, I agree. Yeah.
and I don't, like, maybe it's an initial conversation with the superintendent about like, how do we approach this, And I think the consensus is, we're not adverse to funding some of these, but this seems like a huge ask this year. Is that
Yeah.
consensus? Head
Yeah.
nods? Okay. John? Some thoughts?
It's not directly related to your statement just now, but I've been, so many of you know that I came up with a history of Norwood. And if you look back, not just the last 20 years, but 50 years, 60 years, there were some tremendous swings in which department was involved in funding things that were outdoors but associated with a school, and things that were outdoors and were intended for recreation but were not related to schools. Lots of arguments went on and a lot of different things were tried or done. So that may be useful to give us a sense of what Norwood has found acceptable as a way to proceed when it is faced with good projects that have and a less certain financial base from the potential funding agencies.
Cheryl? And then we'll go to Julie?
I think there should be like an inventory done on these playgrounds and the condition of them, because these are elaborate designs, and it seems like the common denominator right now is the airport got a new brand spanking new shiny playground, but that's town-wide, and it's like, I've seen some of these other playgrounds and it's like, there's nothing wrong with them. And if there's something wrong with them, why are children still on them? So is it because they want something shiny and new? And also the school committee at different meetings have talked about doing a study of kind of like grouping elementary schools together because of the age of the elementary schools are getting old. So are we throwing, good money after bad? And is it, are we being responsible with this money by paying for something that they might close that school down? Then what do you do with the playground? And it's not as easy as
It's
saying,
always
well,
a resource to the neighbors, but I hear what you're saying.
but
But we're not in the, that goes to my
That's
point,
it.
we're not in the best position to prioritize.
that's why I'd
People
like
are-
to know, what are the conditions and what are the schools looking at? And why all of a sudden did they come out of the woodwork like this is just free money for the picking, so to speak, lack of better word, because I can't figure
Yeah.
where I want my brain to go with it.
Mhm.
I think my thought is they have another funding source. And now the CPA is available. And I would like the superintendent to come and give us a pitch, because again, there's gonna be a lot of yelling about now we're using CPA funds for the schools.
Schools, yeah, a
And-
lot of
Okay.
yelling.
So I
That's
think we're all
not
in
what it
favor
was-
of getting together. So having said that, who would like to participate in that meeting? And Julie, you were up next.
Oh, Cheryl hit most of my points, so
Okay.
I'm good.
I'll
Um,
do it if somebody else will do
Yeah.
it with me,
I'll be there.
only because you have to put a leash on me.
Joe?
I don't know if they want to come here, but I don't know what our schedule allows for that.
I think we don't want it in a public meeting. I think we want to have it with a smaller subcommittee.
Yes.
And talk about it.
Yeah.
And I do think we need to think about how do we involve the applicants in this?
And I think that all of these, the principal applied for the Prescott, the PTO applied for the Callahan. I don't know how much the superintendent's even clued in, and for all we know, he's thinking, well, actually, the Willett is the one that's gonna be bringing in older kids now, and we only have a kindergarten playground,
Yeah.
it's one of those
It's
things
a
where once
Pandora's
he's
box.
It is a
moved
huge
in.
Pandora's
Door
box.
locks.
Right, totally.
Yeah.
So I think him, and honestly, I don't know if he can even give us an immediate answer, right? Because if you were doing a whole inventory, which is what ideally you do, you
yeah.
might not be able to bring that back before we vote on this,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know?
So Amanda, you want to go ahead and then Cheryl will go to you?
Sure.
Thanks, Amanda.
One of my thoughts would be, we ask how come we're seeing a rash of these all at once, and my guess would be because we, had a very highly publicized playground project that went through CPA that was very highly publicized because of the dedication, et cetera. I'm sure that sort of set a light bulb off with people sort of individually to be like, oh, that's a thing we could do with CPA. Well, I have this thing that's been kicking around in the back of my mind, and now I'm going to bring that forward. I think it's just the coincidence of the timing of that to go, oh, wow, that's a thing we could do. And so to me, that would be the genesis of why we're seeing a rash of these, and also probably why we're seeing sort of disparate sponsors. And so I do think it will be a case of, it will be good for us to talk to the superintendent, or just making sure that this was on people's radar. And I don't think we as CPA will be able to very clearly prioritize them, just based on the information we have. Like, those folks are going to be a lot more intimately familiar with the conditions and the circumstances.
Yeah, and I think Mark Ryan could add something to that as well, so, yeah. Who was up next? Sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, like when we went to the, whatever you want to call it, before town meeting. The
Three sessions.
Yeah, closed session, thank you, old age here. The superintendent put out, like, the rules have changed, so now all of a sudden you can use CPC money. So now it went right back out in TV land, and it's like, no, actually you're wrong, because I went through that whole website and could not find anything current that said the regulations changed.
I think it's what Amanda just said.
Yeah.
It was such a high visibility project, and people were, I
Yeah,
mean, I applaud these applicants. Like,
yeah,
it funds playgrounds, and so they can't get the schools to fund it, so they're coming to us. So we shouldn't be penalizing these people,
Right.
but we should be hopefully getting some prioritization to be able to tick down the
but
list,
even,
truly.
One thing I'd like to know from I don't know if it's school facilities or who would have this information, but what has changed that has made playgrounds cost so much? Because when my kids were in elementary school, we raised like $30,000 and we got a whole playground. And obviously there's different ADA rules that I think have come into play now with the surface and then we know that surfaces are expensive, or like the ADA equipment is also pretty pricey. I'd kind of just like to know what's changed. Maybe the way we handle this is say, okay, we can't fund a playground, but maybe we can give you the surface, or something,
Yeah.
something like that. That's a little bit like, here's something, if all of a sudden playgrounds are $200,000 now,
it's the
that's
size.
it's tricky with PTOs
It's the
to make,
size.
to get 200,000. Yeah, I don't know. But like even the airport playground wasn't that big, right?
That isn't that big,
Yeah.
but the Prescott did a big elaborate thing with the canopies and seating and fencing and this and that. And I'm like, wow, that Santa
Must be nice.
Claus really went, yay.
All right, Joe.
Just real quick, I think the answer as to why these are so expensive is a combination of everything that you just said. It's ADA, it's surface, and the combination of
Materials, labor.
Safety.
materials, life is safety, but now all of a sudden, somebody who was quiet for years is asking for the whole shooting match.
Yeah.
So as opposed to implementing things piece by piece, now all of a sudden it's like they want to recreate the whole thing.
Mhm.
So that just throws everything. The other point is just looking at the list here, there's roughly $1.3 million that's being requested. But I guess I'd like to suggest that we don't, we're not doing this because we don't have the funds, right? We don't want to have this dialogue because we're short of money. The reason we want to have this dialogue is this is already getting, how big is this going to grow? And the schools whose names aren't here, are they going to show up next year on the list? So we're more trying to manage this before all of our funds go into school playground and something else comes up and we won't be able to do it in the future.
Agreed.
100%.
Right? So
Yeah.
I think it's important that we make sure that people realize that.
Yeah. Debbie?
And the thing up at the airport is not a school playground. The top lot is not a school playground.
No.
It's for the whole town. And I know it's hard to say no to the schools, but they do have other funding sources.
Yeah.
And I believe that's what the CPA was intended for the stuff that doesn't, I mean, yes, Father Max had the Tot Lot had another funding source.
Mhm.
But that's townwide, not the schools.
Okay, so I think we had Joe, Cheryl? Joe, okay.
On the playgrounds.
Wait a minute, was that a raising your hand to volunteer?
You volunteered
Or-
to
No, it's just a-
Shannon before he says no.
Just checking.
That was good.
I know. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead with your question.
No,
Poor Joe.
when it comes to the playgrounds where they're used, I think it's important to find out if the schools they can be used by the neighborhood. Most of them can, I
Yeah.
think. But it's good to find out exactly
Off
how and
hours.
when and, yeah.
Yeah, and I think certainly if we're contributing it, we would want it to be used more broadly, right?
Yeah.
And not restricted. Yeah. Okay, all right. So, Kristen, you'll work with Joe and Cheryl to set up some, discussions and
Yep.
we look forward to you guys reporting back. Thank you. Oh, John. He's not waving. He has a question.
Yes. A couple of expectation things. My sense of the school management, the superintendent and the like, is they are not going to want to be drawn into a prioritization amongst different schools. It's like asking which child you want to keep and which ones you're willing to throw away. They would be more than willing to talk about prioritization of everything the schools are doing against the rest of town government. But that's not where we are looking for input. So I think we have to have some idea of our own about what a reasonable basis for prioritizing projects that we will, all of which we will get to, but we are sequencing them, let's say, the relative need, some definition of that. And then we may be able to get information from them that's relevant to calculating these measures of need. But I don't believe they're going to be willing to just jump in and from a blank sheet of paper, come up with a prioritized list of projects.
Well, maybe our first meeting is with Mark Ryan, who, he maintains some of these and maybe they could do an initial assessment.
Facilities management.
Facilities
Yeah.
maintenance, sorry, yeah.
What about Ricardi?
Yeah.
That is facility.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So maybe they could do an initial, I get what you're saying, John, but
And I
You
like your solution. I think people who are directly involved in the work, but don't have the same kind of straitjacket of prioritizations that the school administrators would. Mark would be a nice choice, and Paul Riccardi is tops. So
great, okay. Great, thanks, John.
Or we
Amanda?
call for a difficult postponement.
Another thing too can be how we frame the discussions with them, because rather than coming to them and saying, choose, top and bottom of the order, instead we're saying, tell me about the wear and tear on this one, this one, on this one. Tell me about what your plans are around this facility for the next X year. Like, we can ask the questions that help us then prioritize based on the factors that we care about, so that they don't feel like we're asking them, which one's your favorite school? Because that's the one we're going to do.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. I think Joe and Cheryl heard that as a takeaway. Debbie?
Real quick, you're gonna have to, no matter how we prioritize it or who you talk to, you've got to sell this to town meeting, that
For sure.
CPA is now funding school projects. I mean, it's,
Well, I think it's a given, and certainly Eric could chime in, but the schools have no money. Like, we didn't actually say that, but the schools have
Yeah.
no money. And if this money doesn't come from CPA, based on the level of amount that they're looking for, these aren't gonna get done.
Fundraising.
Yeah,
Like
they're
I
never
said,
gonna
given the
fundraise.
level
Yeah,
of money
they
that they're
won't.
asking
Yeah.
for, these aren't gonna get done. So the question is, how do we
How we gotta prioritize them. Yeah,
prioritize, share,
exactly.
what,
Yeah.
who else is gonna share?
Yeah,
Whatever.
Yeah.
maybe do the phasing. You don't have to build $1 million house all at once. Maybe you build in
They'll get
sections.
$50,000
Yeah.
instead of
I have a
$100,000.
tent, I can
Yeah.
picture it.
Yeah.
And maybe to Julie's point, maybe we say, okay, we want to focus on the ground, the poured
Surface.
surface.
Yeah.
then do the fundraiser for a slide.
Okay.
Okay, all right, great. Okay, so we knocked, that out. And so then we still have to talk about the 3 applications that, were in the last group, which were the Masonic, facade and the Shattuck wall and the Cannon, structural, right?
How long ago did we do that, Cannon?
It's been a while.
It was in
Yes.
2008, the last
Really?
time anything was done to it, but it was not.
Time flies.
Yes, it was almost 20 years ago, but it
Moving
also was
size.
not done by my understanding is that it was, they only addressed the metal part of the cannon. They did not, do the wheels, which are in, very rough shape, and that there was I don't want to call it just a, Band-Aid job, but it wasn't like the soup to nuts restoration that they're pursuing now through, qualified historic preservation.
You just go get another Cannon. I just came from Texas. There's cannons all over the place. Pick up a cannon.
So do you think there's any additional information that we need to obtain to, decide on this or?
On the cannon.
Dividing it?
Yeah.
You mean dividing the 3 categories?
Uh,
Or have we moved on to the Cannon and
the
the Shattuck
Cannon
and
the Shattuck and I think we've moved on to those and then the Masonic. Is that okay? Or should people prepared to move on to those 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I jump in
Joseph?
on the Masonic?
Yes.
So just to bring to your attention, the gentleman from the Masonic Lodge, Tom, has invited you all to do a site visit. So I told him if it was going to be more than a board view that we would, I would do a public hearing notice, but he would happily have you all there, show you both the outside and the inside and give you further history. If that's something folks are interested in, I can try
I
to get
think
a
that
couple
would
of
be a
dates.
really good idea for us to do.
And I'm the
I
rep
love
on the
it.
project. I'm happy to go. I don't know how many
Why don't
other
I float?
people, or if everybody wants to.
Why don't I get some dates
I
from,
would love it.
Tom and I'll
Yes,
I'll
great.
open up
I think
and.
the dates
I
okay.
love their application and they're
Yeah.
ponying up a lot of money too,
They are,
right?
and they still have to
Yeah.
come before the historic commission,
Okay.
so. But Tom knows.
Okay.
I told him.
And they are, they're aware that there would be some, there'd be both a grant agreement and likely, a historic preservation restriction. And that is something that would be negotiated between you all and their group. And I think that would be a good thing to add to the agenda for discussion with them. There are different ways of approaching historic preservation restrictions. There's, there are some that are done in perpetuity, which can be a long, cumbersome and expensive process. And then there are others that go for a period of time up to 30 years. And so, which are less, complicated.
Less cumbersome
Yeah, but it does go with the deed and for 30 years it would be, protected and he, he can talk, well, you probably saw in his application, the money and the, projects that they've done there, to date. I don't think they, at least
They're not
President,
going
yeah, but
anywhere.
they're not going anywhere. But that is something that could be discussed, because I know they're interested in hearing more about what a restriction would require. Typically, it deals with the exterior of the building. It restricts, major alterations or demolition. So it's a protective measure, but I don't think it would be that much of a burden for that group. But I know they want to hear more about it. So I would add that to any agenda that we had for the meeting with them.
Okay, great.
Amanda's.
Pick a
Oh,
date.
Amanda?
One thing I do want to mention is my husband's going to be moving into Grandmaster for that lodge. So it's probably wise for me to not vote and participate on this
Okay.
one. So I just wanted to make sure that people were aware of that one.
Okay, great. Thanks, Amanda.
Just
Okay.
comment on those 2. So I think maybe to answer the question about the canon, I thought that application was pretty thorough and
Yep.
it's either yes or no to me. There's not, I mean, certainly they're the experts at it. And if you just walk close to the thing, that some work has to be done. As far as the Masonic Lodge is concerned, like I was just going to say that the same thing, that they're ponying up a significant amount of money. One thing that has come up in the last couple of weeks, I don't know if everybody saw it, but we are like in this case, similar to the discussions we had at the Day House about public access and community resource, et cetera. To me, one of the biggest things that they contributed from a public standpoint is the recognition of the Tony Awards, the 10 Outstanding Norwood Youth Awards that has been going on for 40, 50 years, maybe 40 years at least. So they're going to discontinue that.
Mhm.
So the only reason, which is unfortunate, yeah.
Why?
I don't know. But well, I know, but I'm sure there's more detail behind
The
it.
school is, the
Masons.
Masons.
The Masons,
Yeah.
but the only reason I bring it up is that like I think I did too, but several of us mentioned that as one of the most visible and prominent outreach, I'll call it outreach things that they did over the course of the year.
Mhm.
So that's going away. So if that's going away and yet we're requesting and requiring that they have some amount of public space.
Yep.
Then theoretically something
Should replace it.
should replace it.
I agree.
And it's nothing about the Masons, it's just in general, if we held the Day House to some standard, then that should be the standard going forward. Thank you.
Sure.
I agree. The only time I think I was in there was they did have a blood drive, which is a public thing, so.
Yep.
But,
They took instead of gave.
Yes.
Just,
Okay.
yes.
And they were our town building one time for the holiday house tour.
Oh, nice.
And we ran like almost 500 people through that tour, and they supplied us with stuff. They toured the building. It was great because a lot of people hadn't seen it.
They do a lot of great stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Right. I know, but
anything
they,
negative, but
Yeah.
just so we know.
it might be just a matter of public awareness of what they do.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah.
so they're gonna come and pitch on all you're breaking these into 3 groups, and 3 different groups we're gonna get information on them, or they're gonna come and talk to us, correct? Am I correct on
Yeah, I
in that
think for the
assumption?
first group, we were saying we don't need information and that we would think about having them come to the first public.
Right, in December.
Yep, I think, group 2 is, we'll meet with them first and strategize about, do we take all of them? Do we ask them to pull certain ones or
And that's for
whatever?
January
And
14th.
then, yeah,
No,
maybe, well,
they,
or the 21st probably.
14th or
likely.
the 24th, but prior to that, there'll be meetings.
Right,
yeah,
Subcommittee meetings with the schools and DPW and probably facilities.
Yeah.
And then we'll report back on December 3rd, kind of where things stand, but it's gonna be kind of an evolution.
Gotcha.
There'll be a process going forward, more information or probably some, back and forth with the
We don't have
And then I think
December
that-
3rd meeting, do we?
We do.
Yeah.
That's
December
our next
3rd?
meeting. That's our next
Yep.
meeting.
Yeah.
Right there in the agenda. Okay, and then the third group is,
Oh, right there,
I think
next
we're talking
meeting.
about Masonic, where we're going to have some questions for them to talk about. Buchanan, maybe not a lot of questions, and then let's bring up Shattuck. Because I know
Yes.
Debbie loves this one.
Okay. I've had feedback. It's studying everything for $25,000. It's a stone wall. I understand, Tony, it's gotta go out to bid. It is a stone wall that seems to be the town wants to use the same stone that's there. Do we need a $25,000 study? I know it's gotta go out to bid. You gotta know exactly how much you're gonna spend on it. Who's gonna do it? Is DPW? Do we have to get a stone guy? That being said,
32,000.
I still believe that $32,000 is a lot of money,
Oh, yeah.
okay? And I think the studies get a little crazy, which is why I would like some more citizen input. Because when it's citizen input, we could spend $1 billion on that cemetery. We could have had, but the cemetery was done on short money for what they got. The fence they paid for, but all those so if we can get people to see the advantage of getting behind a Shattuck Park, I would like them to put it off if we can't get neighborhood input. Because $32,000 to study 2 little stone walls, I mean, it seems a little much. And we know we want to use the same stone. We're gonna remove that stone and restack that stone. Now, there's minimal people that know how to stack stone without mortar. Okay. But there are people out there that do that. And I would just beg a $32,000 study, I think, is ridiculous for a wall. So we need to get people who are interested in Shattuck Park to get behind Shattuck Park and put this thing through as a citizen petition. They still have to get the bids. They still have to bid it out, all of that good stuff. Is the DPW gonna do it? I don't think the DPW wants to do it.
But I think that what they're getting is the scope of work for the bid documents. I mean,
Okay,
that's what Halverson's gonna do, right? And so I think you asked a good question. Do we need Halverson to be that prescriptive so that everybody bidding
but he's gonna,
apples, right?
right, they're gonna get the job.
But if, no, because Halverson won't do the wall. They'll
Okay.
do the design. They'll, right? And so so if we're putting the wall out to bid, we will put it out with not, a set of stamp plans, right? And so that means that we are potentially comparing apples and oranges. So, I mean, I sort of get where they're coming from. I don't disagree with you, like, that maybe it's a lot of money. And I don't know how much.
I think we can make it more complicated than it needs to be. It's a cornerstone wall. We don't want fake stones. We want to use the stones that are there. They're not, they shouldn't use mortar, but maybe they will now because it's 50 years later. It needs some weep holes, okay? But we're not building a wall that anybody's going to put anything on. It's not a foundation wall. I know it's got to be done right. However, I think we're making it more complicated, and $32,000 is a lot of money. So,
I think the fact that we don't have any,
but are you championing it?
well, any
Championing
local
it?
support, so that we all remember, this application came in last year, and we said that we wanted community input, and he pulled the application, and now the application is back in front of us with no community support or input.
I'm not throwing stones at Tony. I agree.
No,
It's it needs to be done. Again, it needs to be done because it's visually unattractive. I don't think it's harming anybody. It's not holding anything up.
Yeah.
Maybe we could push it off another year and maybe ask the public again. Do you like Shattuck Park? We all love Shattuck Park. So, we're not asking you to do 20 hours a week of work. Just put some people together and champion it on. Joe Greeley will show them how to do that.
It is hard. I mean, I get it's hard. Because they don't seem to want to step up, the community members, right? And as you recall, at the public meeting, or there was comments about the community members came and said they didn't want it moving forward. So it wasn't even that they were just silent. They were rejecting. So I'm going to go to Joe Greeley and then go to Joe Sheehan and
Maybe, we'll see how it goes.
So, but if we harken back to last year's application was much different than this one. Last year's application was submitted by two people who, granted, may have never stepped foot in Shattuck Park, but from the sidewalk and from driving by, they thought the path should be easier to traverse. There should be lighting, there should be something around the outside.
Was that last year or 2 years ago?
Not this application, but the last.
Got it.
application.
Okay.
I think it was submitted
Right.
2 years ago, but we
was
did.
rushed.
So, so that's number one. It's even though the description says Shattuck Park study, which can mean anything. But if the focus is on the 30-foot stone wall, then let's call it the study for the 30-foot stone wall. I'm not in favor of a study in any way. And if the goal is just to get some designs to then go to the study, then to then go to the repairs of the wall, then let's skip the middleman and let's just pay to have design work as part of the project.
Yeah.
Right, and just skip that. The third point is that the neighbors, and I've talked to several of them, the neighbors were scared 2 years ago with the original application because nobody checked in with them, nobody suggested anything.
Lights and blacktop will
And it
blow
was,
my head off.
and it was so sweeping that they said this can't happen. But I think there's been enough attention
They
that
had incorrect
if,
information.
if we just ask them the question, hey, can we get together? We'll bring coffee or something. Can we spend an hour and brainstorm? I'm sure they'd come up with a number of good recommendations. I'm sure most of them wouldn't cost anything or could be handled by volunteers. So I think handled in the right way, it'd be buy-in, it'd be less money, and Debbie could get away without calling a study a study. Thank you.
Okay, Jim?
It's pretty much on the same thing, but I think the last time, there were great changes that was gonna affect the people in the neighborhood. And they felt that, things were happening without them. This is, kind of a more minor change, and I don't think it would, or I think people probably know about it, but they're probably saying, oh, good, just fix that little wall, because it's not a big project. So I don't, the public feed in on this, or the neighbors. I guess if we need to get it, that'd be fine, but I don't think it's gonna affect the neighborhood as much, and I think that's why we haven't heard from them.
Wait,
Sure.
just so this board knows, one of the members on our historic commission lives there and he walked it, and I'm trying to think who he walked it with. Somebody from town hall,
Yeah, Chuck and,
Chuck Burgess and,
Mark?
no, John Chucharillo
that's somebody like that.
Yeah.
I know.
had walked it. And it's basically, yes, the wall needs fixing. Yes, you need somebody who can dry stack and that. But even he'll tell you, it needs to stay as is and not do all the fancy lighting and everything like that. And nothing against Tony, but I think if you have a study, they're gonna come up with elaborate design and go, well, we're gonna put these fancy light posts at the entrances and
It doesn't
This
sound like
and
that from the
that.
Halverson scope of work, but I
Yeah.
hear what you're saying, yeah.
Because why the neighbor's gotta get involved?
yeah, I think keeping it simple is easier because a lot of people walk their dogs through as cut through, and I think maybe just having a couple park rules like please pick up after your puppy as it's walking, please.
Mhm. We finally got garbage cans up there, though.
Okay, do we need to have any more conversations about the applications? Do we feel like we
I think I've
have a
passed
path
it,
forward?
yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so, let's see, where are we at? That was number 4. We're moving right along. Number 5, correspondence review. I think, do we have the,
If there was just an email, from, Judith, that I think you always received it. I don't know that it needs any, there's nothing happening.
we're not paying.
Correct.
She was pretty compelling with regard to that.
Yeah.
A lot of history. Yeah, good. And then, project status updates, anything, or do we want to punt that? Because you have book club.
Mostly done. I do just want to let you all know that the contract was signed for the Old Parish for the remainder of the work. It went out to bid and the contract was signed. So hopefully the entrances to the cemetery will be getting underway realistically in the spring.
I was gonna say,
But they-
all work is stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not planting.
Yeah.
Santa's not getting his tree, again. Where's the camera? Again, Santa's not getting his tree.
So that's, that was one major development, but we can do a deeper dive.
And then, did we want to talk about the plaque
About the what?
If
that's not happening? The plaque here?
the
The memorial
Veterans
hall.
Oh,
Memorial.
yes, sir.
Is that a plaque? Was it a plaque or a
I
sign?
forgot about that.
So, so we did receive an application that I've, from the veterans agent to refurbish, I forget the verb, refurbish, restore, redo the, Veterans Memorial plaques in the Veterans Memorial plaques in the, Memorial Hall. It says, project name Memorial Hall Honor Rolls and Plaque Restoration. Thank you. So I have talked to Derek Winterstrand. We've, not only did we take a walk in the Memorial Hall, but, we've talked a couple times since then. I need I need to get in touch with him one more time because all the research that I've done would indicate that none of this is eligible as requested. I did find what I thought was a comparable project in the database from Manchester by the Sea. And I have talked a couple of times with their CPC chair. And as it turns out, it's totally different. And they funded it, but in hindsight, he said they might not have funded it again except because it was only a part of a larger scope project, and that was probably the only reason they did it. I'm 98% sure that none of this is eligible, and I'm ready to tell Derek that.
It isn't.
So I
It's
just
not?
haven't, I just wanted to make that, it hasn't disappeared, and we didn't really take action on it. We
Determined that it was ineligible.
we accepted it as a pre-app, and it hasn't gone any further yet. So I still owe that to the table, I guess. I'll put it that way.
Okay, great. Cheryl?
I think he'd be better off waiting and when they redo the town hall, include it,
When's that happening?
include,
Yeah, we did talk about that.
I don't know,
recently.
it'd be easier to get it through on that scope of work because some of the stuff, because I've walked through and I looked at it, some of the plaques aren't old, some are, but some are not. So it wouldn't even meet the historic guidelines. So, but if you scope it with the remodel of the town hall, then
Okay.
it just falls in there.
So
Okay, great.
I'll come back next meeting with an update.
Okay, thank you. All right, and then, CP plan update, what's the final thing?
On the back burner, I'm gonna put it on every agenda just so that it stays top of mind, but,
We gotta get Deb out the book
That's
club, right?
Stop it,
The
Catherine.
next meeting is December 3rd.
Got it. I read that
after, but I got time,
Yeah, yeah, I've been there.
Everybody put the new dates in their calendars.
I will not be available on December 3rd.
Okay, well, we'll carry on without you and hope you're doing something fun.
Very fun.
Good, love that. Okay. All right, any other final comments?
I think everybody should have a great Thanksgiving.
Oh, happy
Eat a lot of
Thanksgiving.
food.
Food, fun and football. What's better than that?
That's right. And Eric, thanks for joining
It
us.
is an honor
Yes.
All
to
right.
sit at the table.
Oh, final motion.
I
Motion
make
to
a
adjourn.
second,
Okay, great. Joe Sheehan. Cheryl Doyle.
yes.
Debbie.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Amanda.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Julie.
Yes.
Catherine, yes. Great. All right, thanks, everybody. Happy
Good night.
Thanksgiving.
Night.
All right.
Thanksgiving.